Jeremy Lefroy.
Thank you very much, Chair, and I wish you and your team every success in the coming couple of years. It's incredibly important and vital that we get the best possible deal. So all the best with that.
Well, thank you for that.
It's, if I can just talk a bit about science, innovation and research, declare an interest as a member of the board of the Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine and of the Innovative Vector Control Consortium, which has been in receipt of funding via the EU over the past few years. One of the reasons that people are very concerned about long-term research funding is that through Horizon 2020 there is an element of certainty that money will come for research to UK universities. Now clearly, if Horizon 2020 is not there anymore, it will depend more upon UK government allocating research funding. What discussions have you had about continuing to participate in EU-wide research programmes which are of great benefit to UK research establishments?
Well, with the Commission, none yet. I mean, because we haven't started. The first thing is, very early on in this process, back in August, the Treasury put a lot of things in place, underwriting up to 2020 certainly, and even beyond in some cases, encouraging universities and research operations to continue to make application, set in motion in due course discussions with the Commission to make sure that they're properly met and how we fund them, all that sort of thing. And at the same time, just offered a slight tangent, Mr. Lefroy, we also did things on students to make sure that the sort of, as it were, the base business of the universities was not jeopardised. And I mean, I'm not kidding. I mean, to get the Treasury to move in August in 2 weeks is a measure of quite how seriously the issue is taken. Now, in the longer run, I do not know, as it stands, what ongoing relationship we may have with projects or operations like Horizon 2020, like Erasmus, like all of the various elements. But I'll say to you what I've said to every university and every research operation that I have talked to, which is this: we are a science superpower. We have more Nobel laureates per capita than any other country in the world. In absolute terms, we're second only to the United States. One of the reasons for that is the internationalism of our science, that we attract people here. They come to our best universities, the sort of golden triangle of London, Oxford, Cambridge in particular, but generally across the board as well. And we intend to keep that going. We intend to continue that contest for talent, if you like. And we don't intend to allow this, the Brexit process, to get in the way of that if we can possibly stop it, and we will be able to stop it doing so. So that's in terms of overarching guideline. We've been very clear about it, and I've everything from having dinner with the presidents of Royal Academies, through into University UK, through into talking to the various institutes in Cambridge, through talking to science-driven companies like GSK. We've said the same message over and over again. There's been no doubt about it. I was criticised to some extent, I think, round about Christmas, for saying, look, you know, this is not a door-slamming exercise on immigration, for example, on that. So that's true in terms of our attitude to funding and our attitude to access to people. Does that answer the question?
Okay. It's very helpful. If I could just touch on the access to people.
Yeah.
Typically, people who come from other countries to research are often not that well paid. It's not a profession you enter to become wealthy. It's because you care about it and are passionate about it and want to advance the sum total of human knowledge.
Yeah.
How are we going to ensure that a work permit regime or whatever takes place of current free movement, how are we going to ensure that this perhaps limitations on having people below a certain salary does not disrupt the flow in both directions, I would say, of researchers and academics?
You're quite right that classical work permit systems tend to go off salary as a measure of market value, but nearly all of them have, nearly all the good ones anyway, have some mechanism within them that allows you to recognise another measure of value. Although I'm not the Home Secretary, but you can be sure that I will be making quite serious representations on that front when we get closer to the immigration bill, which will come later down the way, to ensure that happens. I mean, I cited before, I used to work in Canada. I was a landed immigrant, as they call them then, and I had other people brought in from other countries who were not paid as much as I were, but who were very, very important in technical skill terms. And so we have to have a technical skill requirement, and that's what I would expect to see.
It has been, in the broader sense, on freedom to work and work permits, concerns have been raised through many parts of the United Kingdom that there are special needs in certain areas for perhaps a greater level of access to people coming in than in others.
Yeah.
Would not a work permit system whereby permission to work was tied to a particular employment, which is the case in most of the rest of the world, I've experienced that myself, and therefore tends to say you are able to work in this place, would that not be a way of enabling parts of the United Kingdom which really need more...
Well, you're attempting to draw me into doing the Home Secretary's job, but let me say this to you. This is clearly an issue in some parts of the world. I mean, in Northern Ireland, for example, there are requirements for agricultural workers, I think, and other special requirements. In Scotland, you have some special requirements. In London, you had Sadiq Khan here yesterday. You'll have special requirements. I think whatever we do has got to be flexible enough to meet those requirements. The whole point of this exercise, my job is not to write the policy. My job is to bring the policy back to the UK so it can be written in the national interest. And I reiterate a point I made in the debate the other day, that we will operate any future policy in the national interest, and of course it will be brought before Parliament. It will be brought before Parliament. Nothing can change until Parliament itself has had its say on this matter. And I would expect all of the issues you've raised, they're incredibly important and good ones, to be addressed by whatever policy we create.
Okay, thank you. Could I just move on to the...
sure.
Sorry, the European Medicines Agency. Now, clearly this is a very important body. It's based in London.
Yeah.
There has been strong suggestion that it would no longer be in the United Kingdom. Now, the UK has a very, very strong pharmaceutical sector.
Yeah.
Would there not be a strong case for arguing, if it didn't stay in its entirety in the UK, that at least there could be a dual nature of the European Medicines Agency, where it could stay in the UK and perhaps be in another European Union country? Given the importance of this for things like trials of new medicines, would that be perhaps an interesting and innovative way of tackling an issue like this, which is of great importance to the UK?
Well, we have two. I think there are 77 European agencies. We have two of them. One's medicines, one's banking. And I don't want to prejudge the negotiation, but what you're saying is one component of the things we have to consider. With it is also what future arrangement, in any event, we have with respect to all of the global medicines approvals processes, both the EU, which is where we are now, of course, which there's a strong benefit in continuing to be parallel to or matched to, but also the FDA, where it's also a big market too. So those are things which are currently under consideration. Can I ask that I talk to the Health Secretary about that specific point, because I haven't talked about that specific point yet, and perhaps write back to the committee on the matter.
Thank you. Just one final thing, Mr. Chairman, very briefly. You've already mentioned the number of parliaments that are going to have to approve a final deal. Diplomacy in respect of speaking with those parliaments, those countries, is going to be absolutely vital in the next 2 years, and perhaps parliamentarians here can be and already are involved. What plans do you have and do your colleagues in the Cabinet have for ensuring that as much that positive diplomacy is done as possible, so that when the final excellent agreement is put to those various parliaments, that it will be...
Somebody said I looked tired on television last week. 8 countries in 2 weeks, or 3 weeks, is probably the reason, in part. And
but it shouldn't entirely depend on...
No, it won't just be. No, by no means. That's what I'm about to elaborate. Obviously the Foreign Office are involved as well. Liam, the DIT is involved as well. But it's basically a whole of government exercise. And because of the operation of the various councils, every minister in government virtually is engaged in this. The Chancellor certainly has been already to a great extent, but not just the government. I mean, last night I had a very brief meeting with the CBI to talk about their links across the countries. I will be going back to talk to research organisations on the same subject. We really need to engage almost an all of society operation in making plain to our European friends, because that's what they are, that they are our friends, they'll continue to be our friends, and what we're trying to do is to get a good outcome. We're not trying to threaten anybody, we're not trying to do anything sort of heavy-handed, we're not trying to be coercive, we're trying to ensure that we get something in the interest of everybody. And so the people in whose interest it is ought to be engaged in doing that, and that's the intention.
Okay, thank you very much indeed, Pat.